All right, welcome back to another range test. So I'm here in my 24 Lightning Lariat extended range, and we're gonna do another range test. It is December 30th. It's about, my truck's saying 19 degrees out. It's a little windy. It's cold, so it's not the optimal range test temperature or climate, but I live in southern Maine. This is Maine winter. Average temperature in southern Maine is about 25 for winter, so it's 20 degrees, so I'd say we're perfect. And a little windy, which is nothing wrong with that. So I'm gonna have my climate set to 72 on the auto on bar 1, and I'm gonna fluctuate between 70 and 72. Not gonna go lower than 70, not gonna go higher than 72. I'm gonna set my cruise control on 75, and I got Blue Cruise running this time. Last range test I did, it was like 40, or no, sorry, it was 50 degrees out and windy, and I didn't have Blue Cruise, but I'm still in that 3-month period where Ford gave it to us for free, so that's kind of sweet. So we're gonna use Blue Cruise on this one. I made it to Clinton, Maine last time. I think it was like 211 or 216 miles that I did the last time. So we'll see. I'm gonna get unplugged, reset the trip, and then we'll get rolling. All right, so I'm just starting, not exactly the best because I'm at 99%. I was at 100%, but then with climate and everything running, it's pretty cold, so it bumped down to 99, but it doesn't really matter. Last time I made it to Clinton, and this is saying that I will get there at 49% and 0% on return. If that's the case, I plan on turning around much sooner than that. I will end up turning around when I get to about 55-56% battery, because once you get north of Augusta area, there is not a whole lot of, I mean, there's some charging, but there's not much charging. So, and I got my 2 kids with me back here, so I'm really not trying to run out of battery with them. So let's hit the road and see how far we can get. I've hit 75% battery. Currently temperature is 20 degrees. I'm at 1.3 miles per kilowatt hour. I've been driving for 45 or 46 minutes now, and I've only done 44.4 miles. So not the best. It's been super windy. Truck's been getting knocked all over the place, so I know that contributes a lot to it, plus the 20-degree temperature. So if we look here, we've got 7% of my energy is going to climate, which I'm set at 72. 82% to driving, 2% to accessories, and only 9% to exterior temperature. So drive's going good. Blue Cruise is great. Again, just cold temperatures and extremely windy, and it's not like a steady wind, either headwind or tailwind or even crosswinds. It's just a swirling wind that even with Blue Cruise, I'm bouncing lane to lane or line to line, just because it's so windy. But yeah, yep, that's my 75% check-in. I will check in again when we get down to 50%. So I'm currently at 67% battery. My miles per kilowatt hour went up 0.1, so I'm at 1.4 now. I dropped my climate down to 70 because I was getting a little warm, but just cruising along the beautiful highway up here in Maine. We're in the Lisbon area, north of Lisbon area, so now it opens up a lot less traffic, but it gets a lot more hilly, so my numbers are definitely going to go down. But I wanted to take this opportunity just to kind of talk a little bit about the latest news, which you all know by now, of Ford canceling the Lightning. I'm pretty bummed about it, actually. So I leased this Lightning because I was like, you know, electric vehicle, not really sure how I'm gonna like it. Not really sure it's gonna fit my lifestyle, all that. And in under a year of ownership, I absolutely love this truck. It's one of the nicest vehicles I've driven. It's super smooth, super quiet. We all know why we love the Lightning. Obviously it's fast and all that good stuff, but we also know why we don't like the Lightning. It's not a tech vehicle like you would kind of expect with an electric vehicle, at least for me. Bless you, buddy. At least for me, when I think of an electric vehicle, I think of high tech and all that stuff, and this Ford truck's got some tech in it, but it's nothing outside of what your normal ICE F-150 would have. So it's nothing crazy, and it's pretty clear that Ford's not a software company. No kidding. They've been making vehicles since the early 1900s. Like, they've never been a tech company. So that's where Rivian and Tesla shine, is they are incredible software and tech and all that stuff. Ford's just not that. But I think coming into it, I expected a little bit more. Not really more features, because I think it has plenty of features. It's just the features, have them work. Like, do what they're supposed to do. If you're gonna put something in a truck, or you're gonna put something in a vehicle, have it work. If you're gonna put something in the infotainment center or in an app that you create, have it work. Like, it doesn't need to be 100% success rate, but I don't know, 95% success rate in 2025 should be pretty easy to achieve. That's kind of like my thing with it. There's some weird quirks with the infotainment center and everything, and I'm going to do a separate video on some of the bugs and all that. And then there's been a weird quirk with my Ford Pass app, just not having the climate button show up, and then it is there, and then it's not, and then you can't set climate. I got to sign out, sign back in, and then when I do that, I have to redo my phone as a key and my backup passcode. It's just all this frustrating shit, stuff that's really not a big deal, but when you have to do it multiple times, it becomes a big deal. So that's part of it, right? Now, you don't know that buying the truck, but the dealership support is not there. When I was test driving Lightnings, I had seen them, knew I kind of liked it, and then, but I really didn't want to pay that price for what we were getting. I didn't want to pay mid-70s for leather seats and a Lariat trim back when they first came out. To me, that just seemed outrageous. But obviously, I bought in April 2025, so the prices were way down. I picked up this Lariat for 58 grand. Now, I leased it, again, because I wasn't sure about the electric truck and all that stuff. But one of the dealerships, I went to get the key to test drive it. They let me take it for a weekend, and because I think they just wanted to get rid of the thing. And I had already done a bunch of research on it. Whenever I go test drive a vehicle, I do lots of research on the vehicle. I generally, not trying to toot my own horn, but I generally know more than the salesperson I'm talking to. Now, they got a whole lot of cars they have to know stuff about. I'm just going there for one, so I usually do a lot of research and know about all the features and everything it can do. So I get there, and the guy gives me the keys, and I'm like, all right. I said, so he says, you got 100% battery. I'm like, okay. I said, so what if I got to charge it? And he was like, well, you know, you shouldn't need to. And I go, well, I'm going to drive it. I want to make sure. So what do I do? He's like, well, you just go to one of those chargers there. And I go, okay. I says, but what do I do? Like, is it set up for me to charge and all that stuff? He goes, yeah. He says, just go in with your credit card and tell the guy at the register you want, and then you just kind of like you want some to charge, and then you leave. And I was like, okay, because at that point I'm like, all right, you clearly have no clue. Like, well, I should have asked him. I just go to the register and say, hey, I'll take 30 kilowatt hours or whatever. Like, it's not how that works. We all know that, or at least I would think you do. If you don't know, well, there's all kinds of charging videos out there, but it doesn't work like that. You never talk to anybody. You tap your card, or you set it up in an app, or you have plug-in charge, all this stuff, but you're never going in and saying, hey, I'll take 100 kilowatts on pump 4 or whatever it is. That's just not how it works. And you would think a dealer would know that. So there's some of that. Talking about a charger, I was asking him about, does it come with a charger at all, like even a mobile charger? And he says, no, Ford doesn't provide chargers, all this stuff. He's like, you have to get one, through Ford. And I'm like, there's got to be a charging cable somewhere. No, they don't have them. So obviously I open the front, pull open the flap for like where the cooler and extra storage is, and there's that mobile charger there, which I'm pretty sure is standard, should be. It's like, although now again, they sell brand new cell phones, iPhones, Googles, whatever you got, and they don't come with charging cords anymore, which is kind of stupid. But I would hope that the vehicles at least do. So just a little bit of disconnect from the dealership, kind of knowing, again, not really pushing anything. The only thing the salesman kept saying was, wow, super fast. It's super fast truck. It's the fastest truck I've ever been in. It's crazy fast. It's fast. I'm like, yeah, I got it. It's fast. But like, what does it do so special outside of a nice vehicle? And they really couldn't tell me. So it's kind of, I don't know, like those few little things. Again, I take everything a dealer or a salesman says with a grain of salt anyways, because again, I usually know more about the vehicle than the salesman does. So just some of that. Obviously, we all know the charging speeds, the range. Honestly, the range isn't that bad for what I use it for. I've never run into an issue. Maybe a road trip once a year. We're taking it down to Florida in February, so that's going to be exciting. I'm going to do a whole video on that, but that's really going to show where the charging speeds and the range really kind of slows you down a lot. But we took it to Pennsylvania, and it was a great road tripper. Again, with 2 kids, 1.7, 1.4. Stopping every 2 to 3 hours for a little bit of a break is actually kind of beneficial, and they actually kind of enjoy it, and it's actually needed. So I don't think it'll be that bad going down to Florida. It's not how I like to road trip. I like to just get in and go. But with kids, I think it's a pretty good road tripper. And for some reason right now, Blue Cruise does not want to change lanes. There we go. But yeah, just a little bit of dealer disconnect as far as the salesman and all that. And I think I've heard other people say it too, like the dealerships weren't really pushing these, salesmen really weren't pushing these. And I'm not really sure why. It's a great truck. It could have had great success if it was marketed a little bit better. Kind of like I go to the Nissan Titan. I had 2 Nissan Titans. Great trucks, super reliable. I never had any issues with them. Very comfortable trucks. I think a very good looking truck, albeit a little bit smaller than a full size. But they just weren't marketed very well. There were no commercials for them. You didn't see any of that. So I think that was a big part of it. The Lightning, they hit it heavy. They marketed it heavy in the beginning, and it got a lot of traction. But then I never saw any Lightning commercials. Not even when I was looking them up. You know how all that works, right? You look up vehicles on YouTube or searching them, and then your algorithm kicks in, and then every YouTube ad or Facebook ad you see is about what you're searching. Even when I was researching the crap out of the Lightnings, I never once got an ad pushed to me for a Lightning. So it's kind of like, I don't know, the marketing wasn't there for it. What do I do next? I don't know, right? I have over 2 years left with this truck. I do really enjoy it. I was thinking about keeping it, but to be honest, if they're going to discontinue it, I don't think the support's going to be there. Yes, 10 years, parts, all that stuff, but I'm a little worried that they can't do good with the software they have now when they're making the vehicle. So what happens in 5 years when they're done making the Lightning and they've updated the ICE vehicles, so it's a whole different system? I'm a little concerned there. I don't know which direction I go. My son really wants me to get a Cybertruck. I think they're cool as hell. If they looked a little bit more like a regular truck, that's what I would have bought. But I don't want to look like the biggest douche in town, so that's kind of why I steered away from the Cybertruck. But I don't know. Then maybe the Rivian. The Rivian's kind of cool. I like the Rivian. That might be the way I go, but who knows? We'll figure all that out. But it is kind of sad because I do really like this truck, and I wouldn't mind, you know, purchasing it. But I do worry about that support in 7-8 years or so. Now, I'm not the type of person to hold on to my vehicles that long. So, but also I got to keep that in mind, right? In 7 years, what's this truck going to be worth? Yes, I won't have to pay anything on it anymore. I'll own it, but to do what? Trade it in for $5,000? Like, I don't know. I got some time to think about it, but either way, those are just kind of my thoughts. I'm not really interested in the whatever the hell they call it with the generator. That's cool and all, but like, meh. If I'm gonna lose frunk space, that's one of the big reasons why I wanted this truck, was because of that frunk, because it's awesome. So I don't know, but yeah, just a few little quirks and some dealer disconnect I think was the biggest reason. And then obviously charging speeds and range, which I think charging speeds, they could have maybe been able to tweak it with some software updates. I'm not really sure, but anyways, those are my thoughts on it. Sad to see it go. I'm gonna love the hell out of it while I own it, and we'll make a decision in the next, well, April of 2028 is when I gotta really decide if I'm keeping it or not. So we'll see what happens. All right, I'm at 60%. I'll do another check-in in like 10%, or in 10 more percent.
In half a mile, take the exit on the right.
All right, so we're at 53%. I typed in my home address at home, and it says it will get home with 8% battery. So I'm gonna take this exit here, and we're gonna turn around. So
Take the exit on the right.
it's currently 17 degrees, and I'm getting 1.4 miles per kilowatt hour. I think we'll be all right on the way home. We should do a little bit better because on the way home, all that elevation that we went up will now be coming down. So some of the big hills we had to chug on up, I'll actually be able to
feet, turn right.
just kind of relax on the way down, hopefully. So yeah, we made it to, oh crap, I don't even know where we made it.
Turn right. Then
Where are we?
turn left onto the ramp.
There's an Expo Logistics here. I didn't look at the sign. I think it said Sydney. I might be wrong. But anyways, we didn't make it. We're still in Augusta, I guess. No, we're not in Augusta. We're north of Augusta. We definitely didn't make it to Clinton. We were like 30, maybe 40 miles south of Clinton, which is where we made it last time. So exit 120. There's that Cybertruck down there that we passed on the way up.
Oh yeah.
All right. So
Can't see any other Cybertrucks.
nope, no other Cybertrucks. Oh, Milltown Pike Industries up here.
Turn left onto the ramp.
Alright, so we're going to head back down to 95 South now, and we're going to see how accurate it is. Like I said, it says we're going to get there at 8%. Hopefully, we get there around 8%. When I did this in the fall, I pulled in the driveway at 6%. I turned around a little bit sooner too, though, I think. I don't really remember. I'd have to go back and check that footage. Yeah, alright, so we made it to Sydney, Maine. So, now we'll back up on the highway. We'll get our cruise control back and set. Let's take a look at some of our stats here. We've got 6% went into the climate, 83% into driving, 2% to accessories, and 9% to the exterior temperature. Again, sitting at 17 degrees. Cruise control is now set at 70 again. I'm at 52%. I've done 89.6 miles. I've been driving for an hour and 23 minutes. The navigation says we'll get home with 8% battery in an hour and 20 minutes. So we'll tuck on back in and make the trek down. I'll do another check-in at 25%. 25% check-in. So I'm at 25% battery. I'm still at 1.4 miles per kilowatt hour. I've been driving for just under 2 hours, and I've done 132 miles. So we're gonna be very far off from that 311. We all knew we weren't going 300 miles. We're not even gonna make 200 miles. But it's 21 degrees out, and there's pretty wicked wind, so I'm not all that surprised. Let's see what we got here. We got 6% to climate use. I bumped it down to 68. I know I said between 70 and 72, but the sun was beaming on me. I was roasting, so I kicked her down to 68. I won't go any lower. 84% to driving, 1% to accessories, and 9% to exterior temperature. So right now, Google Maps was saying that I would be arriving home at 4%. So then I switched over to the truck just to see what the native nav says. And this now says 2%. It said 3% a minute ago. So I have a pretty good feeling that we are not going to make it all the way home. The only saving grace is that in maybe 20-ish or so miles, there's a 10-mile stretch where the speed limit dips down to 65. So I will kick the speed down just because cops in that area like to kind of get after you. And I did not slow down on the way up, so I'll slow down on the way there. So yeah, ain't looking good. I should have turned around a little bit sooner, but I figured I would trust all the nav and all that stuff. But we'll see. There's bailout options at this point now where I can easily find some type of charging, even just for a couple percent. Alright, so I've just hit the driving range low. I'm at 15%. I got 30 miles of range, it says, left, with 30 miles until I'm home. So as you can see, I got nervous and I kicked her down to 72. I got my kids with me. It's 20 degrees out, so I'm not trying to run out of battery on the side of the highway. We're gonna see how far we can go. I have a couple bailout options as far as charging goes. So I'm in the gray area right now. I should be able to get into Portland, which is then where the speed limit drops down a little bit. So should be able to bump up my miles per kilowatt, maybe get back on the positive side of that. Miles left to miles I have a range, but we'll see. So right now 1.4, 150-ish miles, 21 degrees, and again, I've said it a bunch already, the wind is brutal today, so I think that's a huge factor in this. So Google Maps says 2%. The Ford native nav says I got to charge. It says I can't make it, so we'll see. Right now it shows I got 28 miles of range with 26 miles to go. So we're gonna keep pushing. I think dropping it down to 72, and I also shut climate off. I ain't messing around with that. I think we'll be all right. We'll see, but I think we're gonna be all right. All right, so we've reached the stretch of road that now drops down to 60 miles an hour, and I think we got a good 5 or so miles of this. We've bumped up, oh no, we're still 2 miles apart here, but we're in the positive. Got 23 miles till we're home, 25 miles of range. I know we got to go by percentage, not miles left, but right now that's the only thing keeping me confident. I've found this box van, which is I don't like to do this on range test, but I'm drafting. So I think we've realized that we're at the point where now we have to basically, we'll call it hypermile, not really hypermile, but we have to try to get to our destination. So we'll see what happens. We're at that point where it's like, all right, we got to do everything we can to make it so that we get there with at least 1% battery. So, and that includes drafting and lowering the speed limit Again, speed limit is 60. Whatever this guy's doing, I'm just hanging out with him because he's pushing a lot of air. And like I said, again, for the 100th time, super windy, so all the help I can get. But I think we're going to be all right. We'll see. We're going to go ahead and drive right on past those. 2% on arrival. I've spread that differential to 3. I'm currently doing 60, still behind my buddy in the Ford Transit. So we'll see. I got 16 miles till I'm home, 18 miles of range, currently at 9%. Fingers crossed. All right, so now I'm sitting at 8%. I took Blue Cruise off just to maybe help save a little bit of battery. I don't really know if that does anything. I'm hovering right at that 3 to 4 mile differential. We're doing 58 miles an hour now. I found a new rabbit to kind of hang behind. I feel like that guy's gonna move a little bit more air than that box truck. We're gonna go a little bit slower, but my range here has gone to 3% instead of 2%, so that's good. The truck keeps yelling at me, telling me that, well, it did tell me once that I was outside of my range, so I needed, and I couldn't get to a charger, so I needed to find an outlet to plug into. And then we slowed down a little bit more when we got behind this big truck, and then it said that the nearest charger is at the edge of my range, so that tells me we've gained a little bit. There goes a Tesla Model 3, probably with no issues right now, but we'll be all right. We've got 10 miles to go, 14 miles on the Guessometer, 7% battery. I'm getting off the highway in 6.9 miles. If I get off the highway, I feel pretty confident I'll be all right to make it home. So we'll see what happens when we get to this next exit. Wow, that wind is brutal. We'll see what happens when we get to the Saco exit. How many miles from the Saco exit are we? We're 2 miles from the Saco Old Orchard Beach exit. So we'll see what happens. All right, well, fingers crossed, wish us luck. All right, so my strategy to shut off climate, drop down the speed, and draft behind a massive vehicle has paid off. I've now stretched my differential to 6 miles, so I'm no longer concerned. My battery percentage here has gone up to 4%. I'm about to get off the highway here in Biddeford in 0.7 miles, and then I'm only a couple miles from there. So not necessarily a success, but it does look like we're gonna make it, and at the very least not be stranded on the highway. If I didn't have the kids, I would have kept my speed and dealt with it. I also passed like 2 or 3 chargers that I would have been able to charge at, so I would have been okay. But I just didn't want to get stranded on the side of the highway with the kids. Not exactly the best spot to run out of charge, or battery, I guess. But now we're getting off the highway, exit 32 in Biddeford, and then it's just a couple miles until we're home. So I'll do a final little update when we get into the driveway, but I think we're gonna make it. This is the lowest I've ever taken the truck down to. Last range test I did, I pulled in with 6%. It's looking like I'm gonna pull in with like 3% maybe. As you can see, my power's dropped down to 40%. But hey, it's all about knowing what the truck can do. But yeah, I'll do another update as soon as I get into the driveway. So we made it. We pulled in with 4%. So the lowest I've ever taken this truck. We did 1.5 miles per kilowatt hour. I pulled in with 35% power. 177.6 miles. 1776. I like that. That's cool. And then 2 hours and 44 minutes of driving. So where did my energy go? 5% to climate use, 85% to driving, 1% to accessories, and 9% to exterior temperature. So again, these numbers are a little skewed. I probably, when I was, I don't know, 15 miles or so out, I think, is when I slowed everything down. Again, I found that guy there that I was drafting behind in that van, so thank you very much for that Ford Transit. And then that dump truck that was getting towed, that was a huge win. Again, not worried that I was going to get stranded with battery. There were plenty of places to pull over, but that got me home, so I can just charge the convenience of home. So it said 311 miles when I left. Again, we all knew that wasn't going to happen, but a far cry. Didn't even make it to 200 miles. So I'm not really upset. I didn't expect to do much, even thinking about it. So at 2 hours and 45 minutes, at 177 miles, let's say I'm on a winter road trip with the family, the kids are going to want to stop. The kids were wanting to stop already. They were hungry. They wanted to get out and run around a little bit. So even on a road trip, if that's all I can do, even if it's 150, so I'm not doing 50 miles an hour on the highway, I think we're fine, right? When we go to Florida, it's going to start with that. The first few stretches are going to be terrible because it's going to be February. It's going to be cold. But then as we get going further south, it'll warm up. It'll flatten out, all that stuff. So a couple of things that made this one a little bit different. There was zero construction, or there was like a stretch of a quarter of a mile of construction on this one. When I did it back in the fall, we were at the end of road construction season here in Maine. So there was a lot of road work being done. So there was a lot of sections where I did dip down into like 60 miles an hour or so. It was kind of windy that day too, a little bit warmer. It was like 50 degrees or so. But then I did slow down. Then that first one, when I got to that 60 mile an hour zone around the Portland area, I did slow down on that first one. This one, heading north, I didn't slow down at all. I stayed right at 75. And then on the way back, I did slow down again because I was in that critical battery stage. When I do these, I try not to draft much. So I'll stay, I will switch into the left-hand lane super early so that I'm not drafting, just so that I can get some more realistic numbers. Again, the wind obviously didn't help, but anyways, that's what we got. Little 20-degree range test. The coldest I saw, I think, was 18 degrees up in Sydney when I turned around, and I pulled in at 22 degrees. So all in all, not that bad. Not a bad way to spend 2 hours and 40 minutes. So yeah. Take your Lightning on a road trip. You'll be just fine. There's chargers along the way. Unless you're heading to northern Maine, then there's not much for chargers, but whatever. The other thing too, a lot of range tests I've seen online, they do it at 70 miles an hour. But I'm thinking more realistic. Nobody's going to do 70. It's hard for me to do 70. If I'm in a 70 mile an hour zone, something about just having cars just zip on by me, I can't stand it. So normally when I'm driving, I'm doing 77, 78. And if people pass me at that speed, whatever. But 75 is like the lowest I can physically go. Maybe it's the only child in me, but I have a hard time going any slower than 75, especially in a 70 mile an hour zone. So that's why I do my range test at 75. It's a little more practical than 70, because at least where I'm from, all of my highways are 70 mile an hour speed limits. And as you get in northern Maine, they go to 75. So it's like, I'm not going to do my range test at 70. I'm going to do it at 75, which is a little more real world practical. So, but at least for my area, maybe your area, your highways are 65, so 70 makes perfect sense. But here, my highway's 70, so I do 75. So that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Time to plug her in and recoup some juice. I'm sitting at 4%, so time to plug her in. Thanks for watching.